If I asked you who's the best English player ever, you might say Wayne Rooney or David Beckham. Some may say Bobby Charlton. But there's this one guy whose name you've probably heard, but you may not really know much about him. And honestly, that's a shame. Paul Gascoigne, Gazza. He's considered by many to be the best English player they've ever seen. When he was at his best, he made you love football, really love it. But if you blinked, you would miss him. The tragedy of Gazza's story is that his potential was destroyed, not just by his demons, but by substance abuse. There was something in his childhood, something that never really let go of him, and it eventually led him down a path where alcohol and drugs tore apart a career that could have been one of the greatest in football history. Gazza's childhood wasn't easy, not even close. He grew up in Dunstan, a tough place in England with not much money and a lot going on at home. And when he was a kid, something happened that stuck with him forever. He was out with his friend's younger brother and the kid got hit by a truck. Gazza saw it happen and the kid died in his arms. He started having tics and anxiety, even went to therapy as a little kid. For him, football was his escape. When everything else felt broken, the game made sense. But then, when it came time to choose where he wanted to play, he picked Spurs over Manchester United. And Sir Alex Ferguson, he was gutted.
He nutmegged Remy Moses right in front of me in the dugout. And went up to Remy after he did it and patted him on the head. And I says, after the game, I says to the chairman, don't leave here, get on into that chairman in Newcastle. I've got to get this boy. This is the best I've seen for years and years. It's Martin Edwards. He says,
the chairman, yeah.
Yeah, Martin, the chairman. He says, I've got bad news. He's signed for Tottenham. I says, oh, God almighty. How could that be? He says, well, apparently that Tottenham have bought his mother and father a house in the northeast, and that swung it. Well, I think it was a bad mistake. Paul admits it to this day, because as an
Imagine that, choosing Spurs over United. It totally shaped his career. At Spurs, he had freedom, but maybe he needed more discipline. Still, it gave us some of his best moments. So there's that. Back in the day, English players were known for being tough. It was all about crunching tackles, long balls, and being physical. But Gazza, he was different. He played like he grew up somewhere else, like where skill and creativity ruled. Watching him play was magical. Zinedine Zidane even called him the most talented English player he had ever seen. Gazza wasn't just talented, he was unique. He had this ability to make it wasn't all fun and games. Defenders were ruthless with him. One of the most infamous moments came when Vinnie Jones grabbed Gazza by the groin during a match.
Why are you crushing his willy, as you like to call it? What did that guy do to deserve that?
Well, I was told to mark him tight during the game. And he just started talking crap, and I just wanted to grab hold of his crown jewels.
It became an iconic photo. It also showed how much abuse Gazza took on the pitch. His story should have been different. He was supposed to be one of the all-time greats, but instead he became a what could have been, and alcohol had a lot to do with it. But it wasn't just fame. His drinking started because of that thing in his childhood, the trauma. That memory of his friend's brother getting killed, he couldn't shake it. It followed him everywhere, and football was the only way he could escape it for a while. But even the game couldn't fix it completely. And then there was the 1990 World Cup. England were playing West Germany in the semi-finals, and Gazza got booked. It meant that if England made it to the final, he wouldn't be able to play. And he cried full on tears right there on the pitch. And it wasn't embarrassing or anything, it was real. It showed how much he cared. The guy just loved football.
Watching. Good. It's alright, good lad.
In 1992, Lazio signed him, making him the most expensive English player ever at the time. But when Gazza showed up, he wasn't fit. He was overweight, and the coach, Dinuzov, told him to fix it or leave. Gazza being Gazza, he turned it to a joke. He worked hard, lost weight, and got back on the pitch.
Sky, I drink the right stuff. The boss has told us to keep off the pasta, so I've been keeping off the pasta, keep off the ice cream. You know, how can I keep off the ice cream? I really like it, but
Fans loved him, but he was always in the middle of some chaos. He once put a live snake in a teammate's car. Another time, he bought drinks for everyone in a pub just because he felt like it. But he also showed his brilliance. On his best days, he could take over a game. On his worst though, he struggled with his fitness and off-field antics. By Euro 96, Gazza was back in England and back in the spotlight. He was older, but he still had the magic. His lob against Scotland, followed by the dentist chair celebration, is one of the most iconic moments in English football. That tournament showed Gazza still had something special. For a while, it felt like he was back at the top, but England's semi-final loss to Germany on penalties crushed everyone. It was another almost moment for Gazza, and it felt like his career started winding down from there. As his career went on, Gazza started to fade. The injuries, the drinking, the stuff on the pitch, it all caught up with him. And it's sad, really. He ended up struggling with money after retiring. He was living with his agent because he couldn't afford his own place. These days, stuff like that doesn't happen as much because football clubs are better at helping players manage their money and their lives. But back then, once you were done playing, you were on your own. Even with all that, people still remember how good he was. Gary Lineker said it best. Paul Gascoigne was the most naturally gifted player I ever played with. Pure genius. Gazza's story isn't just about football. It's about being human. The ups, the downs, the mistakes, and all the moments that made you think, wow, this guy is special. You watch his highlights and he made people fall in love with the game. Even with all the chaos, he was unforgettable.